for example, I want to see customers with an actual balance that's outstanding, not the zero amounts, I can use our analysis mode. And here I can filter out different information. So say, for example, I don't need to see the location. I can remove this in my chart over here. Or if it is, I would like to see any pivots as well. I can create a pivot and also enter my rows and my values here. If it is that I don't necessarily feel like doing that, I can use our AI function. This is Copilot, and I can tell Copilot exactly what I want to see. So I just went into this little Copilot toggle, click that, and I create a new analysis. And I tell Copilot, I would just like to see customers with outstanding balances. And here Copilot has created an analysis for me. As you can see, this is another tab. So we can have as many analysis views as we would like. And Copilot is now showing me all of the customers that have outstanding balances due. I can further filter this and I could say that I would only like to see customers within the US. Show customers within the US. And then it filters it out even more for me. So it really depends on what it is that I would like to see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to exit the analysis mode. What I would also like to point out as well is that we have a personalized function within Business Central. So say, for example, I don't necessarily need to see the location, or I might now need to see the phone number. I can just remove these columns from appearing on my screen as well. And that would be done through personalize. Okay, so that is the customer listing. What I'm going to show you now is the details that would be captured through the customer card. So this is the customer card, and it provides a general overview of the customers. Let me just choose this customer. And with this, we can see if it is that we have any pictures. We have this little fact box in the right corner of the screen, and this provides some additional details. So we can see if it is that we have a customer picture, we could put that, as well as some statistics that's relating to the customer. So if it is that we have any sort of ongoing sales, if it is that we have any shipments that are due, etc. And if we scroll down for a bit, we can also see some statistics. So, for example, when was the last time that we received payment from them? What is the overdue balance, etc. But back onto the main card. The main card contains details such as the general details of the customer. This would include the customer name, as well as if it is that we have any sort of credit limits for the customer, we can enter that here. I'm just going to show you some additional details. We can capture the addresses. If it is that we also have any ship to addresses, so this could be for a customer, one customer that we have multiple locations that we have to make deliveries for. What we can do is that we can also have the ship to addresses that capture the different locations that we have these various shipments for, and we can address that, we can list that on the invoice level for the customer. So instead of writing out each time where the invoice has to, where the items have to be delivered to, we can just select from our ship to address. Back onto the customer card. And then, as I mentioned, there's seamless integration within Business Central. So I can go in my balances here. I can show all of my customer ledger entries. This is the customer ledger entries. This is all entries made that's in relation to this customer. And again, we can see that we have the analysis mode here as well. So if it is that I would like to further analyze this data, so as we can see in terms of the document type, we had both invoices as well as payments. If it is that I just want to see outstanding invoices again, I can analyze this. I enter analysis mode. So I can use either the functions through the filters on the right corner of the screen, or I can tell Copilot. So I can tell Copilot, show me outstanding invoices. And I can see the invoices here. If it is that this is not enough information for me because I'm just seeing the actual invoices, I want to see show invoice amount and due date. We can now see that these two additional columns were also added to our analysis. Okay, so that would be our customer ledger entries as well as our customer card and customer listing. What I would like to show now is, well, before I jump to that, what I'd also like to mention is that this customer listing is the same for the vendor listing. It's basically just the payables. We would see all of our vendors, we would see the same amounts owed by us. But the same data is shown there. So I will not show the vendor listing. But what I'd like to show is the overview of the purchasing process. So on Business Central, we can capture the purchasing process as well. I'm going to start by showing a purchase order. And on Business Central, this is the purchase order listing. One really interesting feature that I find within Business Central is we have something called a preview posting. So say for example, this is a purchase order that was completed, and I'm not sure if this is accurate. And if it is, I'm missing out any information. I can go, instead of posting this directly and this affecting my GL, I can just do something called a preview posting, and it shows me a preview before this is actually posted. So I can see if I have any errors, if there's any data that's missing, it would appear in red and I'm not allowed to post. Let me find a purchase order that I know has no errors. So this is a purchase order on Business Central. We can see our vendor name, our vendor. If it is that we have the invoice number, we can go ahead and identify that here. And we have our purchase order lines. So if it is that we have multiple items that we'd like to do a purchase order for, instead of typing these out separately or individually, we can always use the select items function. And with that, we can select multiple items that we would like to add to our purchase order. So I can add all of this and I would say OK. But let me just show a purchase order that has no errors. So if it is that I would like to see the GL accounts or the subledgers that are affected by this purchase order, what it is I can do is I can go into the preview posting, just like what I did previously. And here I can see all of the subledgers that are affected. So I can see my vendor subledger, my item subledger, my VAT, etc. And if it is that I would like to see the accounts, the GL accounts that are affected as well, I can go into the GL entry and I would see the GL accounts, the GL names, as well as the amounts that would be affecting these accounts. And within the purchase order as well, we also have approvals that can be requested. So we have out of the box Business Central approvals, or we can use Power Automate. I don't have the Power Automate set up for the purchase orders because this is our demo environment, but I can show you how the email will look once it is that you link the Power Automate to your email. You would get an email saying that an invoice or a purchase order was requested. You'll get an overview when it was created by, who it was created by, sorry, what date, etc. And you can have a shortcut in your email as well that would take you to be able to approve or reject whatever invoice, sales order, purchase order, etc. So that would be our purchasing. What I would like to show would be our payables, I mean our payments, our vendor payments. So I did not show this for our receivable because it's almost the same screen as well. But with purchasing, we have an additional function that I would just like to show. So I'm going to type in payment journals. And this is how we record payments on Business Central. It could be either customer payments or vendor payments. We would just enter the relevant details or the account type here, as well as if the account number, customer number, payment method, as well as the amounts. But for vendor payments, say if I have 60,000 that I would like to pay my vendors this week, and instead of going through all of the invoices to choose what I would like to pay, we can just tell the system to suggest some vendor payments for us. So we can go into suggest vendor payments. I could put in the 60,000 that I would like to pay, and what the system would do is suggest payments that are ready to be paid based on the due date, based on vendor priority as well, because on the system we can also state priority vendor priority and who should be paid first. So it can suggest our payments based on that, and the amount would total to our 60,000 that we have. Okay, so far, what is that we covered would be our accounts receivable process, our purchasing process. What I would like to show next would be our chart of accounts, the backbone for our finance module. So on Business Central, I'm going to navigate to our chart of accounts. So here we have all of our accounts, what type of account it is, whether it's a balance sheet, and within the balance sheet, whether it's an asset. If it is, I scroll down some more, I can see the income statement as well. So here we have our income statement. What I'd also like to highlight as well is that within Business Central, we can also see the transactions that make up our balances within our chart of accounts. It's not just a figure that we see and we don't know what compiles that amount, what transactions make up that amount. So I'm going to drill down further and I'm going to show all of the transactions that are available. So I'm seeing all of these transactions that make up the amount. And the another cool feature as well is that we can go into the find entries for the transaction and I would find all of the related entries for this transaction. So I can go into, and I will see it's a sales invoice. I can go, if it is, I select this. It takes me to the actual sales invoice that was created. So here's where we could really see the integration of the different modules relating to the chart that was showed earlier. We can see how our chart of accounts, through our chart of accounts, we can see the GL entries and we can also see the sales entry for it. It actually took us to our sales invoice. So that is a proper definition, a proper viewing of the integrations of the different modules within Business Central. If it is, I want to see all of the accounts that were affected as well. I can see that. If it is that I would like to export this into Excel as well, I can use this little toggle here and I can just say open in Excel, and now everything will be exported into Excel, which is another benefit of having Business Central, a Microsoft product. It also opens doors for other seamless integration with other Microsoft products as well. So we can also have this being exported in any sort of way that we would like. Okay, so what I would like to show next would be our finance reports. So here we have some of our finance reports. What I'm going to show would be the income statement. But through this, we can define or we can get a high level overview of different reports. So I'm just going to go into the income statement. And through the income statement, I could define what it is I want to see. So if it is that I want to see a budget that I set um, between for the income statement, I can see what I budgeted for versus what is currently the actual based on the data that's in the information. I can select that. I can see our budgets, our variance, and what currently exists. If it is that I would like to export this to see to see this in Excel, I can also export that. Or if it is I'd like to update any sort of information, I can select that. And what the system would do is provide graphs as well for me. So I'm going to just export this, and I'll show you how the system would spit out data for me. So this is what currently exists in the system. I now have it in Excel along with a graph. So this could come in handy in terms for our reporting. What I would also like to show is budgeting. On the system, we can also create our annual, quarterly, monthly budget. So this is our GL budget. And we can define how we would like the budget to be shown, whether it's through the GL account or if it is that we would like to see it based on department. We can also have our departments being defined here and our expectation for the various months, sorry, and enter the amounts. I'm going to go back to the GL accounts. And within these amounts as well, if it is that we would like to use the account itself and we go into the budgeted amount, we can see it being further broken down by department or amount. So we can define it however it is that we would like. The benefit as well is that we have the add-on with Power BI. So if it is that I would like to see reports that's not just in Business Central, because let me just show you the income statement within Business Central before I just jump to the Power BI. So if it is, I say this is not sufficient enough for me and I would like to have more reporting based on that, we have the add-on function of Power BI. And we can have our various dashboards that if it is that we just select whatever data that we would like to see for the month, we can have our dashboards change to what data we would like to see. And we also have the income statement, the balance sheet, etc. Do we have any questions?
No, none in the chat so far.
Okay, great. So Daniil, that would conclude my demo of Business Central.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharice. All right, everyone, before we go into the live Q&A, I'm just gonna highlight one thing. I'm gonna share my screen. So Microsoft has a current promotion going on for new Business Central clients. So for Dynamics 365 Business Central, there's a 10% offer where you get a 10% discount. So what is it? What is this promotion? It's designed to help businesses who is interested in Business Central to onboard at a lower price. So who's eligible? Um, it's available to new Dynamics 365 Business Central customers who have either a Microsoft 365 Business Standard or Business Premium subscription. It's a 10% off the annual subscriptions for Dynamics 365 Business Central for the Essential or Premium license. Also, it is for an annual subscription, and the offer is valid from August 1st, 2024 up until June 30th of this year. So you guys have a few more months to take advantage of this promotion. So the number of seats is available for customers with up to 300 persons.